Hello, Hilary.
Hi there.
Thank you for agreeing to talk to me today about how therapists can be kind to themselves. I wanted to talk to you because you're a really straight talker and an all-round good egg. And professionally, you founded Doula UK. You're still a doula? Yes.
Occasionally I'm actually on call as we speak, but try not to be, but I can't help myself sometimes.
And you are an Arvigo abdominal massage teacher and therapist.
Correct. Well,
go on then. Off you go.
Well, as I said earlier on, your main issue is going to be reining me in and stopping me talking for the next 2 hours, because yes, I am fairly forceful and strong talking, and I love nothing better than an audience. So asking me if I'd mind to do this, obviously I'm thrilled. So, you're wanting to talk about self-care for therapists, and that's kind of how we started actually having conversations together, because we were both looking at how to support yourself and indeed myself in that journey. And so, I've been a therapist for, my son is 28, so 28 years. I've made all the rookie mistakes. I've made all those rookie mistakes of not looking after myself, and have suffered the consequences along the way. So just to start off, there is this book here, which was the game changer for me, right kind of close to when I started. I think it was actually Rosita Arvigo recommended this one to me. Woman Who Glows in the Dark. This woman, she is a great therapist, and she spent a lot of time out in Central and South America working with different shamans. And just, the whole book is a fabulous book, but the one bit that stood out for me was she was on some retreat and in the middle of the jungle in the rainforest somewhere, and during the night she started to feel really sick, and she crawled out of her tent, which she was sharing with other people, into the undergrowth, where essentially she was puking and shitting and feeling fairly appalling. And then she heard her teacher was calling out, and she heard him come to find her, and she thought, oh phew, someone's come to rescue me. And this man just towered over her and looked down at her as she lay there in her own puke, and was really angry with her. And so she was just like, oh, why is he being so mean to me? This is so unfair. And as he looked down at her, he said to her, you expect your clients to come to you and to make themselves vulnerable and to ask for help. And you have just crawled out of a space with some of the greatest healers you will ever meet to go and puke and shit in the jungle by yourself. You did not ask for help.
Wow.
And that for me, so we're asking people to come to us so that we can be, oh, let me be your great healer. I'm a this, I'm a that therapist, whatever. But unless we learn to ask for what we need, we're not modeling the behavior. So the first thing that every one of us has to do on a daily basis is ask for what we need. Ask for what you need. It's kind of, end of interview, that's it. That's
Thank you very much.
And that is my word of wisdom for the day. But ask for what you need. You might get a big fat no, but at least then you know who's your support around you. So that
asking for what you need is like a muscle, though, isn't it? You have to practice, and then you get the no, and you fall on your face, and it hurts. I'll never get my needs met, and then you have to get up and ask.
And what's the point of asking for what I need, because no one's even listening anyway?
The more you ask, the stronger the muscle gets.
And it really, really is that thing of what is that reflex reaction of, here I am, I'm up against the wall, what am I going to do? Just be rabbit in the headlights, or just try and bluff my way out of it, or am I going to ask for what I need? So from there's a few questions, and it's we're here talking about self-care, but before we look at our own personal self-care, who is keeping your home fires burning? I'm looking at you with a really lovely fireplace behind you there. Who is keeping your home fires burning? So in order for you as a therapist to be able to step into your therapeutic role and do your work, Who has got your back? Who are the people? So if you are in a partnership, does your partner support you in what you're doing? Does your partner get enough reward from what you're doing to make them want to continue to support you? If you have children, how are they being cared for? Are you constantly running on the back foot, trying to be a good therapist whilst making sure that the kids have got their whatever, or your parents are being paid attention to enough, or your friends? If you're asking your partner to support you and all you do is come home and moan every day, and you haven't got enough money and you haven't got enough time and you're not making any food and you're not actually participating in your family or your community's life, you're not going to get the support that you need. So who's got your home fires burning, and are you appreciating them? Are you saying thank you to them?
Yeah, so it's a gratitude practice too.
A gratitude practice, because we don't work alone, particularly as therapists. So that also goes to the point of, who is your therapeutic support? Are you asking them for help? Do you, when you see your therapy friends, or indeed your friends in any walk of life, hitting a brick wall or looking exhausted, do you step in and try and support them? Kind of guess that you do if you're some kind of healing modality. That's how we find our that's where we find our joy and our confidence, and that's how we see ourselves in the world. So we're great at jumping into other people's lives and saving them, but who's going to jump into our life and save us? Generally, it's going to be your nearest and dearest. If you are just taking, so you come home from work and I'm exhausted, I've seen 5, 7, 10 clients today, and now I can't listen to you, and no, I don't want to cook dinner or wash up or any of those things. If we're not supporting those around us, they're not going to support us. It has to be mutual. So have you got your stuff in order? Do you have your childcare sorted out? Do you have your work-life balance sorted out? Do you pay as much attention to your relationship, the important relationships in your life, as you do to your clients? Do your clients get all the nice bits of you, and then
yeah. So you're so nice.
Yeah. So I have at different phases done lots of work with young people and my children and all their friends and all my kids' friends. Oh, your mum's so amazing. She's so this, she's so that. And my kids are like, yeah.
Okay, that brings to mind the question about whether we should develop a culture of having supervision in bodywork, in massage. Because then where I grew up in psychotherapy, it's kind of the law that you have to have it. It's all very regulated. You have to have a certain amount depending on where you are in your career. But in massage, it's very unusual.
And I think that that's our biggest mistake. I think you're absolutely right. So for myself, so as an Arvigo therapist and an Arvigo teacher, one of the reasons I love the community, my Arvigo community, so much is that we have a huge support system. So it's not an official supervision like you would in psychotherapy, but it is there, and it is something that we do for each other. And I think it really helps to actually have a paid supervision service, because if you're paying someone, say, right, I want to see you once a month and I will pay you the £30 or the £40 or whatever it is, you're going to use that time really wisely. And it does then mean that we're not dumping it on our nearest and dearest, because I can't ask my partner to be everything to me, and also he doesn't understand some of the things that I'm talking about when it comes to being a therapist. I will come home and just say, I've had a tough day today. One of my clients has had a death. One of my, I will just sometimes say the highlights of the day. And that generally means that he knows I don't want to talk, because my first thing that I do when I come home from a long day of talking to clients all day is I just want to be really quiet. Luckily, my man is a man of few words and he gets that. But it was difficult for the kids. And when I was doulaing and the kids were young, they didn't like it because I wasn't available to them. And so taking that to supervision, and I did at that point, was really useful for me to then make sure that when I was with my kids, they actually had me. So self-care, let's put our work life into specific places. So one of the first things for self-care when we're looking at how does it relate to the people around us is when we're with our friends and our family, put down those devices. Don't be trying to constantly keep on top of your emails whilst, cooking tea, whilst trying to have a conversation with someone. So self-care is not just about us. I mean, I know we're here to talk about us personally, but actually it's a much greater picture than that, because it's how we live in community as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So ask for what you need, and make sure that your support system is in place would be the first two things.
Can I ask you about how you in your RVGO peer group organised your peer supervision, your self-care? Is it informal?
So we have, so because I'm a teacher, I have my teacher group. So we have, there's kind of hierarchical. So you have your teacher group. We have a very strong Facebook groups. And so every class, so you have 8 people or 15 or 20 people in your group when you're learning, that will have its own Facebook group. And so people will go there and go, oh, I've just had a client, or I'm really worried I've got such and such coming in, or my client had a terrible response. So you have small groups, which is your teacher peer group. And then we have the UK group, and then we have the European group, and then we have the worldwide group. So, and then we make it very clear that for, as teachers, that you have access to either one of the teachers or one of the assistants for pretty much instant response. Because we're a worldwide community, you can put in something at any time, and either Australia or America or Israel, someone is going to pick it up. I've got a client turning up tomorrow and I don't know, and people will answer that, or I think I did a great job or a crap job, and there's always someone. So it's it starts small and works out to the bigger, and then the teachers, we all support each other, and from the top, and then that comes down. And that's one of the things I really love about the way that we work, is that we have done that. And as a community, we are very, very strong on modelling and making sure that we don't fight for place. I mean, I guess there's not a gazillion of us, but if someone contacts me, I will go, well, do you know what? You've got someone in Cambridge who's that bit closer to you. I suggest you go and see them. So we work very much as a group. And I think as therapists, it's really important that we don't try and hang on to our clients, because from a self-care point of view, that's fear and lack.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is my observation is there's often a conflict between what therapists think they ought to be projecting, the gratitude and the generosity and the openness, and what they're actually feeling very often, what we're feeling very often, is fear and lack.
And burnout.
And burnout. We'll come to burnout in a minute.
Okay.
But how can we sort of get over this sort of defensiveness where we can't ask? How do we move through this difficulty?
First up, it was one of the headings I got on my piece of paper here: financial self-care. How much are you charging? Are you charging enough? Can you afford, as a therapist, to have therapy yourself? Do you have enough money to eat organic like you're telling your clients to, or to go swimming once a week, or to have a treatment once a month? Can you afford to have a yoga class? These are the things that we need to look at. And I'm very realistic, because as a therapist, until I discovered RVGO, I was actually scraping along, and I rarely could afford a massage, and I couldn't afford to go to yoga. Having discovered Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube, that has been a game changer. And let's big up Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube.
Fantastic, isn't she great? Oh,
She is the best, and it means that I can do it. So my yoga, so that is a really big part of my life and my self-care. But it was ridiculous that financially I was not in a position, because I wasn't charging enough. Because if I charged more, then maybe they wouldn't come to me, and maybe they would go to someone else. And just the reality check of actually, 7 or 8 years ago, of realizing, actually, I need to charge enough so that I can live and cover myself. So I think the financial fear of if we let a client go, and if they go to someone else, that means we haven't got enough, is something that really, really can weigh us down. So let's look at how we advertise, how we charge for our time, how much we give for our time. So often, as when a therapist, they'll say, oh, I charge £65 for an hour. And then you're in there for an hour and a half. And then they say, it's actually, you're not charging £65 for an hour. Let's be realistic about what we charge. So if we charge £65 for a treatment, and that includes the treatment, getting ready, the treatment, cleaning up after the treatment, sending up a follow-on email, potentially... all of that. So really look at how much you charge. And if people think you charge too much, then they're not your clients, because you need to charge enough for you to be able to serve yourself. And that will be different in different areas. And so I
have to say that depends on there being enough clients, enough of your clients, your ideal client group, with the amount of money in your area. If you're doing
I think there nearly always is. And so the way I work that is that I personally, as a therapist, I have my prices. And if someone says I can't afford that, then my strapline is supposed to be, I will have 3 people doing pay what you can afford at any point. But it's rarely that. And it's just like, pay what you can afford then. But you will notice that the people who can't afford to pay are generally the ones that have got, a nicer handbag than you, or having a holiday, or just had a conservatory put on, or, that's not in all areas, but it's that fear of, if I don't charge enough, I won't get enough clients. It's invariably in our own head. And when we try to hang on to clients really need that. So what happens in the Arvigo world, where I'm talking from, is that often I will say to a client, you could go to so-and-so, they'll be a little bit closer, and they'll go, oh, I really appreciate you saying that. And oh no, I want to come to you. Or when I'm working with fertility, I'll say, well, I know you don't have a huge amount of money, so how about you see me for 3 treatments, and then you go and see an acupuncturist for 2 or 3 months, and then you may choose to come back to me or not. But clients really feel like you care about them when you model that behaviour, because I'm saying, I'm going to let you go. I'm not trying to book you up.
Because it comes from a place of openness and a place of listening and looking out for what they need, not for
what I need.
What they think, what we think they need.
Yeah. And so that way, what is our best advertising method? It's word of mouth. So when you are really open and generous with your clients, whilst being realistic about how much you charge, and so if clients are kind of going, that's an awful lot, you can explain to them, the hour that you're on my table is not the only hour that I'm working for you. I have to prepare myself and all of that, as we were talking about. So when we're generous with our clients, they will be the ones that go out and go, oh, I've got this amazing therapist, and she's really this, or he's really that, and I really recommend that you go and see them. And what's the best way to get more work is to say to your clients, please, would you recommend me to your friends? They don't know that you want more clients or less clients, but it's really important that financial self-care, if we cannot afford to look after ourselves, if you are a therapist, and I really think that there's got to be, I don't know what it is, there has to be an algorithm that however many treatments you do, you should be getting one back. I try and have a treatment once a month, and right now actually I'm feeling pretty tight in my shoulders because I haven't had one for about 6 weeks. So my self-care has been compromised this month, and I don't even know why. I've got out of the habit of doing it. And what a great, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go and book myself a massage as soon as this is done.
For myself, I book them all in advance. Yeah. Because I know that it's so easy for it to slide.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best best thing that I did since I've been on this sabbatical is to book myself weekly therapy. So I've had this beautiful container for all this stuff, and it's just, I was a bit, that's insane to spend all that money when I'm not earning, but actually, oh my God, it's just been the most beautiful process.
Well, we have to invest in order to be able to work, because otherwise we'll have that burnout. And people know, when they walk into, if I walk into a room, if I see, I first of all, I will want to know how many treatments my therapist is doing. If I'm number 9, I ain't going, because I don't want to see someone and their 9th treatment. I know what that feels like. And they may be able to give me a perfectly reasonable treatment, but I just don't want that energetically from my clients. I want to know that from my therapist. I need to know how many people my therapist is seeing. That's a question I will always ask. How many treatments do you do a week? And to be quite frank, if you're doing more than 15 a week, you're working too hard. You've got to find some other way, some other stream of revenue. So self-care could be finding other ways of making money that aren't just about rubbing bodies. So are we talking to therapists who are body workers here, or are we also
not only, most of them body workers, but it's yoga teachers and coaches and doulas and everybody.
So what are some of the things that we can do which don't cost money? Because we need to have those as well. It's not all about spending money. What is your regular self-care practice? We should all have a self-care practice that we do daily. One of my favorites is a spiritual bath. A spiritual bath could be as simple as a little bit of Radox and a gin and tonic in a bath. That's spiritual bath. It's all about intention. Or you can get herbs. And so when I have had a day of seeing clients, as you come into my front garden, I've got lovely big bushes of rosemary, which are there all the year round. And then as the year goes on, we've got all the other herbs available to us. But, a big pot of rosemary at your front door, I think, is one of the best self-care things that you can do. So either on my way in, I will just pick a big sprig of rosemary and get in the shower and just literally just scrub myself all over with rosemary. That's one way of doing a spiritual bath. Another way is you can get your herbs and you can run your bath and you can light your candles and say your prayers and put the herbs in there and macerate yourself in them. There's so many traditions, but the thing about a spiritual bath or a tradition, it's intention. But plants are a beautiful way to clear your energy. So the other thing I might do is as I walk in, is just quite literally I come in through my front gate and just stick my head in the middle of the rosemary and just give it a good the little pot of basil from the supermarket. Stick your face in there and just snort basil. Smell and the living plants, they are so important. So a really beautiful way of self-care is having relationship with a pot of basil or rosemary. Really get a relationship. If you've got a window ledge, you can have a window box with plants. I think growing herbs I think my garden, to be quite frank, is my most vital bit of self-care. And I know you love a bit of gardening too.
I do.
And
not everyone has a garden, but I think that getting outside and getting into the earth in whatever way is available. And
if that is literally the pot of basil from the supermarket and you're just sticking your face in there when you walk into the kitchen at night, face into the basil, then into the gin, then into the crisps and peanuts. Basil first. Yeah. So using herbs, using plants, using outdoor space is a really really important way for me to be able to make that connection. And that when I do that, when I take the time to get that sticky energy out of my hair, and I literally brush the rosemary or the basil or the sage right through my hair and get it under your armpits and between your legs and around your ankles. My friend Susie and I, she's also a therapist, and it's just like, right, time for a nice herbal slapping. Time for a slapping, dear. Oh yes, come on, let's have a nice herbal slap. And we just slap ourselves all over. And slapping yourself all over, actually, that leads me into a good body slap. It's all of that.
Slapping, everything moving.
Yeah. What are you wearing? What do you wear when you work? Do you take it off when you come home? Have you got an underwired bra on? Self-care is about being comfortable. Hallelujah that Lycra has been invented for us all. And the underwire bras. Marks and Spencer's now has a range of non-wired bras. It's becoming mainstream, which is really
nice.
Yeah, which is so exciting. But what are you wearing? Are you comfortable? When you get in the evening, are you actually taking off the clothes that you've been working in all day that have all that energy stuck and getting into something nice? Speaking of something nice, I'm wearing something rather lovely.
Would you like to show us your garment, Hilary? Because it is extraordinary.
Can we just talk about what I'm wearing? There's a woman called...
Let's talk about you.
Can we just make it all about me? Yes. There's a woman called Claire Jasmine Beloved, who, it wouldn't surprise me if a few of you know her, but she's making these amazing silk, beautiful things in silk. And when I'm at home, you'll find me floating around in diaphanous silk garments.
Basil and gin.
My face in a pot of basil and a glass of gin in my hand. That's what I call self-care, people. But, Marie Kondo, who was that best-selling Japanese woman who was around a couple of years ago talking about cleaning up your house.
Oh, yes.
Again, that was one of the things I took from her. She was just like, does it bring you joy? Does it have any value? Is it beautiful? When we get home, we should be wearing really nice. For years, I was wearing those kind of, those bloody elastics gone out of your tracky bottoms, and it's just like I threw all of those things away, because when I'm at home, I want to feel comfortable and sensual and gorgeous. And that might be my fleecy pajama bottoms with unicorns on. It might be a little silk kaftan number, but it's about, how do you treat yourself? Do you treat yourself like an honoured guest in your own home? Are you wearing things that delight you and that are comfortable? Are you indulging your senses? Because we have all those senses as a therapist. Those are what we're working with. We're working hard with our hands, but whether we're holding a yoga class, whether we're doing one-to-one therapy, all our senses, we're using our eyes to look at that person. How are they holding their body? What are they doing? We're using our ears. We're listening to the words that they're saying. We're creating an environment that is inviting and smells and looks beautiful. Talking all the time in my life. I never stop talking. My mouth is flapping continuously. Those 5 senses that we're using all the time, how do we use them to support ourselves? How does our skin feel? Are we putting luscious oils into us? I spend all day rubbing luscious oils into other human beings. Do I remember to do my skin brushing and rub those ushers in and massage myself every evening after I've got out of a bath?
I can't believe we've had this conversation for this long and you haven't talked about self-care massage.
Well, okay. I thought you might be talking about self-care massage yourself. So, self-care massage. I'll
leave it up to you.
I'll just whip out my wombs. And here I have a couple of wombs. Few.
I thought you were whipping out something.
What's she going to whip out now? Here we have 2 wombs. This one here is about 2 ounces big. So this is a woman who probably hasn't given birth, a younger woman. This is her womb when she's not bleeding. And over the course of each menstrual cycle, our uterus doubles in size and weight. So this one here is actually 8 ounces. So anyone who's a little bit older or had a kid or 2, when she's ready to bleed, or anyone who bleeds really heavily, their womb is going to weigh round about 8 ounces. And it's held into the... our uterus is held in the pelvis by ligaments, and all those ligaments have to carry that weight. So in the Arvigo world, Rosita was the one who developed the self-care massage, because she was working with people and she wanted to give them something to go home with afterwards. And so she developed this self-care massage, which other people have taken and used, which is brilliant because the more people get it, the better. So when we massage into our pelvis, and I'm not going to show people how to do it right now, the lower bit, because it's something we do on a one-to-one basis. But when you work into your pelvis, and you know how to, if you have a heavy period, if you're feeling tired, we have all that lymph in our knicker line of our legs. Not only should we be taking our bras off when we get home, we should also be getting rid of our knickers as well and floating around in a silk garment. Get rid of your knickers, get rid of your bra, because all of those are stopping your lymph moving. So literally anything you're doing that's just, you know, just moving the lymph in the pelvis. If you've been sitting all day in an office or wearing tight trousers, so just those nice circular motions over that lymph area is just going to help you to settle down. The lymph is also affecting the nervous system. So when we do that nice, slow, lymphatic, light movements, it's just bringing us down and bringing us into a place of calmness. So the diaphragm is that muscular area, and through the diaphragm comes the esophagus, which goes to the stomach. I had to remember that. The esophagus goes to the stomach, the main artery from the heart, and the vein. And the diaphragm wraps like a figure of 8 around each one of those vessels. This is one of those Chinese finger traps that kids have. And maybe now we get stuck in here and the rest of the talk will be with my fingers in this. So the diaphragm tightens, it gets those vessels, and as it tightens, it pulls and pulls and pulls. And so what's happening now is my fingers are being really, really constricted. So if your heart starts beating extra hard, it's because the diaphragm has tightened around the aorta and the heart's having to beat extra hard to push that blood through. So anxiety, what happens? Diaphragm tightens. So the esophagus gets tightened as well. So you get those people who say, when I get stressed, I can't eat. That's because the diaphragm has tightened around the esophagus and you literally can't swallow. Myself, as a comfort eater, I will force that food down. I will force it through. That opens up my diaphragm for that second as that bolus of food goes through. My stomach fills. That pushes up onto the diaphragm, and it just gives me that moment of ease till I shove that next plate in. And when I'm on call, it's just like I start. That's why babies. I can't be a doula, because if I'm on call and that baby's 2 weeks late, that's a month of anxiety eating I've done. So working into the diaphragm, how does self-care work? It can be the massage that we teach, and I know that you use in your work as well, a similar one. But more simple than that, how can we think about releasing our diaphragm? We could break into a little Joni Mitchell, Laughing and Crying. You know, it's the same release. Any women of a certain age can now start singing along. But laughing and crying are really great ways of releasing the diaphragm. Just working into our solar plexus, just holding your solar plexus, doing those nice,
tender spot,
slow, circular. It's a tender spot. And when we put our fingers there, even if we just put our fingers there, then it brings our attention to that area. And then just holding it with a slight bit of pressure and then doing some nice breathing, your body just goes, oh, we're relaxing. So self-care massage, there's the specific one that we teach within our womb work. There is the simple one that we do after we get out of the bath or the shower, where take the time with your towel, just giving a vigorous rub. I think we should all be covering ourselves in oil. That's mainly why I'm an oily massage therapist, because that's what I love. But taking that time, what's the most important hormone? It's oxytocin. Out of them all, oxytocin is our most important hormone. When we look after ourselves and we have these essential things of beautiful silk against your skin, of lovely, soft, fluffy cashmere blankets, of, you know, whatever it is, when we're rubbing that oil into our skin, we are invigorating our lymph, we're invigorating ourselves, we're paying attention, and most of all, we're sending a really important message to ourselves that we care and that we're treating ourselves like we are honoured guests in our own bodies. Another great one is literally just give the third eye a bloody good rub. Just stimulate that third eye. Just give it a really, 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 really good rub. That's one of my favourites currently. Give my third eye A really, really, really good rub. And then just, the self-care massage on your scalp. We can all take time to do this. We tell our clients to do it all. Are we modelling our good behaviour?
Are we modelling good behaviour?
Yeah. Posture, sit up straight. Right now I am. Yeah. So yes, the self-care massage is a biggie. What else did I want to say? Oh,
we're running out of time. So what's left on your list that you really
mainly you'll never walk alone. Alone. You're not alone. So that goes back to the very beginning. Actually, I think I've done a nice segue back into the beginning of ask for what you need. You are not alone. Find your support. If you're a therapist, create a group or get a one-to-one buddy, a mentor, pay for it. I don't care how you do it, but you need to find somewhere where you can actually ask for what you need, because there will be times when you have clients that come to you or you've had a really tricky class, you just need to download that. Where are you going to take that? Set up systems that show you the support, allow you the support that you need to ask.
Brilliant. Thank you, Hilary.
Thank you. And Claire Jasmine Beloved Silk Outfits.
Yes.
Let me plug her. It's great. Really, really lovely to talk to you. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.